So one of the next things in his narration here in his reader story was that he went to San Diego High School, and they call it the Castle Inn, down there on 12th and C, something like that. And he said, oh, the famous movie star. Well, it was a silent movie star, this guy Lloyd. And I Googled him.
Harold Lloyd.
Harold Lloyd. And I Googled him. I looked at one of these silent movies. He was a crazy, nutty silent movie star. And there's a movie called Safety Last that is a very funny scene with him hanging from the hand of a clock on the top of a building. Anyway, I don't think people talk about him too much. Maybe how did you know about him?
He's a famous film star.
Silent movie star. Okay, well, you know more about this than I do. Then the next thing he talks about is working for his dad, and they worked in projects around the Balboa Park, including the Laurel Street Bridge. And even early on, it seemed to me that Smith was very ambitious. Maybe it's because he was trying to prove things about his father. There's a section in a book that Roger just gave me by Kevin Starr. It kind of talks about his father having to leave Walla Walla under the cloud of a political scandal, and you kind of wonder: did that help? Did that help? Excuse me. Can you get that? See one of the pockets. Yeah, there. His ambition was probably a result of his trying to improve himself as a young man. I'm trying to think. After high school, I think then he worked for the Heller's grocery store or bakery, worked for the bakery. There again, he keeps showing his ambition. He gets up at 2:00 in the morning. His family lives out. Well, they lived in North Park, but then they eventually moved up to Yuba Street there. But he'd come down in the middle of the night and work at the bakery. And I think he talked about catching a ride on a streetcar. He was somehow something you would never do now.
Well, no. What was even more crazy was that he going up the hill,
up Pershing Drive. Yeah.
He'd hold on to the back of a trolley and ride along until he got to the top of the hill, and then he'd let go. I mean, can you imagine?
No,
today?
No, you can never do this stuff. I mean, he had a storied childhood, you'd call it. I mean, he was very lucky.
And I think another thing that you mentioned, San Diego High School, he was actually a bit of an athlete at the high school.
Yes.
And he was on the San Diego rowing club team, and he thought he might even be able to go to the Olympics at one point.
Yeah.
So the San Diego Rowing Club is a famous institution at the turn of the century as well. The building is still there across from the convention center, the San Diego Rowing Club boathouse.
So I was going to go down and look at that place because I thought that would be. We've got some photos of it because we did a story on it in the Reader. When I was here in the early '70s. I think I was still in the Navy, and I went over and joined the rowing club. And I saw pictures of Smith. I didn't really know who he was,
right?
But there was an old guy at the club named Kearney Johnson, who was a contemporary of Smith's, and he was still alive and kind of the janitor, but kind of ran the club, and talked about Smith being one of the greatest rowers they ever had. It would have gone to the Olympics, I think, but he didn't want to quit his job or lose the time at work. Yeah, that was remarkable. But
Smith quit high school. He dropped out.
Yeah. Now, why did he drop out? To work?
He didn't like school. I don't think.
Okay.
He helped his family. I think it said in the story that he gave some of his earnings to his parents.
Yeah.
To make it ends meet. So it was pretty tough growing up for him.
And another thing that reminded me of how long ago this was, but I think he worked at the bakery, but then he also worked at the grocery store. And he would work in the upstairs department. So in those days, you'd buy your item, or somebody would maybe find it and give it to you. You'd be there checking it out, and they'd send the bill upstairs. They'd send the cash and the bill upstairs to an upper floor. And he worked in that department, did all the very rough accounting they did in those days without any machine. Mm-hmm. And I think when he was up there, he thought, I am going to go work for a bank. He liked that accounting stuff.